Welcome to the USA Hockey Next Gen podcast, where the future of the game takes center ice. Join us as we spotlight rising stars, innovative programs, and the voices shaping tomorrow's hockey community. From first strides to big dreams, this is where the next generation begins.
Welcome back to USA Hockey's Next Generation podcast. I'm Drew Shore, along here with my co-host Lindsay Fry. Super pumped up. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about blind hockey, its impact on accessibility, inclusion, and community. We have a big-time guest, Drew Garza, the founder of Dented Puck Foundation and USA Hockey's blind hockey rep. How are we doing today, Lindsay?
I'm great, Drew. How are you?
I'm good. What'd you get up to over the holiday?
Just a lot of family time, and then I left the day after Christmas to go coach my team in Boston because that's what we do in the hockey world. It was an eye-opening weekend for my Arizona girls, but it gives us something to work toward, which is good.
I was going to ask how we did in the tournament, but if it was eye-opening, I might not want to ask.
Yeah, no, it was a little tough, but that's okay. We learned a lot. That's what we say, right? As coaches, it's you're either winning or learning. So how about you, Drew? How was the holiday?
It was great. My two daughters, who are 8 and 4, are at really good ages for all things kind of Christmas and New Year's. So that was super fun. They ended up staying out way too late on New Year's, so paid for that over the next couple days. But other than that, it was great.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to jump into this conversation today. I personally, as long as I've been involved in hockey, and I'm sure same with you, this is a discipline I'm still learning about. Blind hockey is still relatively new, I think, and certainly growing across the country. So I'm just really excited to talk to Drew, hear all the ins and outs of blind hockey as a discipline, what's available for players, and I think, honestly, just to kind of fill in the gaps of what I think is possible. I think for people who are not visually impaired, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around how a sport like ours that's so fast, so physical, so challenging in a lot of ways to play is possible with a visual impairment. And Drew's going to explain to us exactly how that happens and what some of the ins and outs are. And it's just going to be a really, really cool conversation.
I'm super excited to talk to him. A couple years ago, there's a tournament every year in the summer in Denver called the Dog Bowl Nation, and they send a team. And just to be able to watch these guys and how talented they are, to know where they are on the ice and the plays that they're still able to make is pretty remarkable. So before we hop over to Drew, let's check out a quick video and learn what this program is all about.
What an awesome clip of an even more amazing program. Let's head over to talk to Drew Garza and learn even more.
Drew, thanks for joining us today. How was your holiday?
It was very good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I heard you played in a tournament recently. How was your latest tournament?
So the last one I was in Boston for the Blind Classic, and that was fantastic. We had a really good turnout from all levels of play, and it just seems to get better every time we get together.
Drew, I'd love to hear just your personal journey, finding blind hockey, what it's done for you, why you're inspired to give back in the way that you do, and just really want to hear kind of the origin of it all. I
was born in Texas, moved to Chicago. My godfather was connected to the Stars when they moved to Dallas. And so he was huge into hockey and got me started into it at, I think, 4. I played all through high school, and then, where we all end up is beer league at the end. And so I was playing that after high school when I was in college. And when I turned 28, I noticed some kind of fuzziness and bubbles in my vision. And from there, I ended up losing almost all of it. So I'm got central vision on my right side and nothing on the left, no peripheral. So I thought I was done with hockey. Like the first thing I said to my wife when I got out of my last doctor's appointment was not like, this is what it is. The first thing that came to mind was, well, I'm never going to play hockey again. And for lack of a better term, that really stunk. Like it was, something that I didn't realize was so important to me. And then when you lose it, you realize, it really comes into focus. So for 5 years, I didn't do anything. I just kind of sat there. And then one day I saw a news article or a news story about beat baseball. And I'm like, well, they have blind baseball. They've got other blind sports. At this point in time, there has to be hockey. And so I finally looked it up and found the Chicago program. Wanted to come on as a coach because my assumption was that it was going to be very slow. It's blind people. What can they really do on the ice? All of that. And the first conversation was, no, we want you to play. And that I was like, I played relatively high level high school hockey. I don't know if I want to go and beat up on these blind guys. And I'm telling you, the first practice, I was ready to throw up in the corner because these guys were skating circles around me and and they couldn't see. Like they had less vision than I did. And so it really kind of woke me up to, it's adaptive hockey, but it's still hockey. And in fact, some of these guys that I play with are better than, people that I played with in high school and after that. So it really showed me that I still had the opportunity to contribute to the community as a player. But I also saw that there was a larger need to contribute as an advocate for the sport. And so just kind of through my travels through blind hockey, I was asked to be the blind rep for USA Hockey and accepted the position. And now I get to advocate and cheerlead for what I think is the best group of hockey players in the world.
I've become aware of your story through the Dented Puck Foundation. Seeing all the work you've done there has been so cool. Can you tell me a little bit about just kind of how you created the foundation and the mission you're trying to accomplish there?
Yeah, so the Dented Puck was actually started as a podcast. I went on another one and I got off of it, and I had a buddy named Josh that I ended up co-founding the foundation with. And I told him, we've got to do this. Like, our story is great. We've got a bunch of people that are within our community that if we can get their story out there, people will want to listen. So we did that for about a year. And then COVID hit. And I mean, as you guys know, events got canceled, practices no longer happened. Like, hockey went basically dead for almost a year. And in that time, the disabled section had our classics and our disabled festival canceled. And so Josh and I were like, we've got to do something. And so we founded the foundation. Our tagline is community through competition. And so our goal is to give opportunities for blind players around the country to come together and advance their skills through practices. We've done some training camps. We do a tournament every summer. And then we also have a branch of it that's a traveling team that we put into different charity competitions. So I know you guys are in Denver, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dog Nation. We have a blind team that goes to their dog bowl every summer and participates in their copper division to bring more visibility and kind of integrate our players to the larger hockey society.
Drew, I want to talk about, I think obviously that is incredible. Your story is incredible. And we hear that a lot, just people who, whichever disabled discipline it is, if they weren't born with whatever it is, whether it be, missing limbs or in your case, blindness. It's interesting to me how you talked about you don't know how important hockey is until you feel like you've lost it. And I think that's something that, even people feel when their careers are over. I certainly did. It's just you kind of lose yourself a little bit. So I just wanted to comment on that. I think it's so special that this is something that has allowed you to rediscover yourself, rediscover your community, and it's awesome. I wanted to ask some these are going to probably sound like silly questions, but for people that have never had any experience, not just with blind hockey, but with adaptive sports in general, talk about the logistics. Like, what are some of the rules? How does the puck work? What's the equipment? Like, all of those details, so that somebody who maybe, did just lose their vision or doesn't know that this is an option for them, so they can kind of understand what they would be getting into.
I like to say that blind hockey is about as close to regular hockey as you can get in the disabled world, maybe outside of Warrior. At the international level, we play B3, B2, B1. So that's legally blind is a B3. 5% vision is a B2, and then totally blind is a B1. If you ever see a blind hockey game, anyone wearing a black helmet would be a B3. Anyone wearing a white helmet would be a B2. Anyone wearing a red helmet would be a B1. Very few B1 skaters, but there are some out there, and those guys are nuts. I can't imagine only going off of auditory cues in the rink to figure out where I'm at on the ice. Like, I have a hard enough problem with it now. I would be lost. So that's how the vision levels break down. And within the game, we use 14 points. So you can basically have 3 B3s, 2 B2s, and a B1 on the ice at any time. And that's at international. When we play locally, we've got guys that are just visually impaired, so not necessarily legally blind. But if you have any kind of visual impairment, we welcome you to the community. Like, the puck will help anyone with a visual impairment. That's really our biggest adaptation, in my opinion. So obviously, standard puck, blind puck. So we're 3 times the size, made out of sheet steel. There are 8 ball bearings in here, and I don't want to rattle it here, but it makes noise as it travels across the ice. So this is the biggest help because we use whatever residual vision we have left. It's a little bit slower on the ice. It's larger, so it helps us track it a little bit better. The other big adaptation is we have an electric pass whistle. So when you break into the offensive zone, you have to complete 1 pass before you can shoot. So once that pass is completed, there's an electric pass whistle that goes off, and then everyone knows it's fair game to start ripping them. This really helps because all of our goalies are totally blind. And if they are not totally blind, they have to wear shades to occlude any vision that they may have. They mostly play in the butterfly, so our goals are a foot shorter. But beyond that, there's nothing different from, standard hockey to blind. So very minimal adaptation. But if you're like me that comes from a hockey background before blind hockey, if you get that puck and you're by yourself, you're just going, right? Like, you want to get in there, you want to take that shot. But in blind hockey, you can be the only guy up there. There won't even be defense and you can't shoot because you haven't made that pass yet. So it definitely relies more on working with your teammates, making sure you're lining up correctly and working so you can get that first pass. And then, it's whatever goes. But that's really the biggest difference in blind hockey from standard, at least as far as I've come across in my time in the sport.
Does the puck feel different? Like, for someone who's played hockey your whole life, how different does that puck feel?
Because it's bigger and hollow, the balls will cause weight difference. So sometimes if it hits a rut in the ice, it'll make it pop up. Sometimes if you're trying to use your backhand, like, it'll roll a little bit more on you. We really like it when it gets banged up, so it has some dents in it. So that really helps us kind of feel it a little bit better. But it's not totally different, but it's weird. Like, that first time, you think it would be really heavy, and it's not that heavy. And getting hit with it, I was really terrified the first couple weeks that I was playing, and then I got hit with it once, and it's not fun, but neither is the vulcanized puck when it's been frozen, and so it's not as different as you'd think. It does take some adjustment though.
I got a funny story here, Drew, and you'll laugh at this one. I was playing in Switzerland for the year on Olympic ice and then signed with the Vancouver Canucks one year. So flew over to Vancouver, back on NHL ice, took the ice for warm-ups and was playing wing at the time and went for a breakout regroup during warm-ups thought I was feeling good, no helmet on, high stepping around. And I didn't realize like how much smaller the ice surface was. So as I pivoted for the pass, this is like my first NHL game in over a year and a half, I ran into basically the end board as I was opening up, fell in the middle of warm-ups, and obviously had a good laugh. But I can't get over, like, can you just speak a little bit on like how talented some of these players are? Because like you said, it's like even for you jumping back in after not playing for 5 years and then obviously having reduced vision, like the talent level and like ability to be able to like feel where you are on the ice is just so impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, we've got too many incredible players to really like bring up. But to what you were saying, a lot of our guys skate the perimeter of the rink before every game, so they can either they're counting their skate strides or they'll tap the boards and count like how many taps they went around, and that helps them build that mental picture of where the rink is. Because sometimes we'll switch to an international rink, and you have that extra 2 feet. Then you go back to a NHL rink and it's gone all of a sudden. And I've done the same thing in game where I thought I had a good extra 6 feet, and all of a sudden the boards were there and I was done. So it's really cool to see how people adapt to make it work for them. I always talk about Kevin Brown. He is a B1 player that played on the national team. He's now our strength and conditioning coach. He was a Paralympic decathlete I think that's how you pronounce it. And the craziest thing from him is that he has no vision, and he is always in perfect position as that bumper right on the goal. Like, I don't know how he does it. I think that he's a mutant, and I tell him as much every day, but like, he's always in the right place. And as a defenseman, I've seen him block 6-7 shots in a row. And again, it blows my mind because he can't see anything. So incredible, just monster of a player. Dan Schramm and Luke Miller are the two captains of our national team, and both of them, I mean, their skill level is up there. Dan played growing up. Luke started in blind hockey, and they're, I think, arguably the two best players in the country right now. But it's not, I guess it's hard to say what makes them amazing because they're just good hockey players. And I think that it's really like, if they were sighted players, you'd be like, oh yeah, Dan's a great hockey player. But when you add in the fact that they're blind and just these fantastic skaters, like, that's what really, really kind of gets you when you start watching the actual games happen.
For those B1 players, obviously there's sound in the puck, but what preventative measures are there, if any, to ensure that players aren't running into each other? Or is that just part of the game, or how does that work?
We like to say that there's no checking, but there's always contact. So
Fair enough.
We're, it's like anything. I mean, even in we call it sighted hockey. In standard hockey, you guys people run into people all the time. We just happen to do it a little more frequently, but a lot of the on ice stuff is vocal. Like, we're a very vocal team on the ice. Like, we have to, if someone's got a guy on him, like, it's always important in standard hockey, but in blind hockey, it's even more important because they may not have any idea that someone's there with them. So that's where the different levels of vision come into play too. So as a B3, I see more than a B2 does, and I can help them have kind of tactical awareness of what's going on the ice at the time.
I'm going to take that snippet and I'm going to share that with my team of all fully sighted players. They're 17 and 18-year-old girls, because it drives me nuts. I'm always telling them, like, you should be the most talkative person out there if you don't have the puck, because you're the one who can see the ice, who can see what's going on, see what's coming at the puck carrier. So I think I need to show them some blind clips and just show them how vocal you guys are, because I would imagine that's super important. My other question was going to be, you mentioned, one of your former teammates was in the Paralympics for decathlon. What do you think it would take, and maybe we can transition into just your role with the growth of blind hockey in the US, but what do you think it would take to get blind as a discipline in the Paralympics one day?
A lot. I mean, it's tough, so in the United States, we have about 300 active players, including, kids that went to college or things like that. We probably have 500 total. So as far as growing it in the United States, the biggest thing is finding those players, getting the kids into it so that we have a pipeline of growth moving forward. The larger part that kind of hurts us in pushing for the Paralympics is world participation. So right now, Finland, England, Russia, who unfortunately isn't, allowed to play in the Paralympics or Olympics right now. So it's kind of like we've lost a team. South Korea and Spain, I think, all have kind of grassroots starting programs. We need to have 6 globally, and we have to have a World Cup before we can do our exhibition game at the Paralympics. So we're all pushing for it. I know that we've got some players that are really taking interest in growing it internationally for that specific reason. So our goal right now is to have our exhibition game in 2034, I believe, is in Utah, in Salt Lake. So a lot, for lack of a better term. I definitely think that we can get there. I don't want to say that I'm a pessimist, but I do think as I've worked with USA Hockey and seen kind of the international stage, like I just know that there's more steps that maybe our community doesn't think about that we have to hurdle before we can get to that end goal.
Drew, all 3 of us here played hockey for most of our lives, then obviously lost the locker room, lost hockey for a temporary period. You obviously were fortunate enough to be able to pick it back up, but we all kind of know that different players go through struggles personally when they lose the game, lose that camaraderie. Can you tell me a success story or just kind of something you've seen about the sport's impact on kind of a player or a family?
All of them. I mean, I think that that's the beauty of disabled sports. Every athlete is affected in a different way. Every family. I've heard more times than not, like, I'm so glad they found this. They're them again. It's hard to pinpoint because that's actually a very common kind of thread throughout our discipline, especially. Kevin Paproth is this guy that we met at a Dog Nation event. He lost his vision. He played high-level juniors growing up. We met him. He played with us once. We did a couple of events with him, and in talking to him, he's like, I feel like I got my life back. I'm happier. I was just a shell, and the family appreciates it too because they get that person back in whole. It's a struggle for any person that loses community. I think that when you tack on maybe traumatic vision loss on top of losing community, it kind of amplifies both the good and the bad. So everything is so good when you get it back that it's hard to like put a barometer on how bad it was before you got there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I know I threw the long game question at you at the Paralympics, but let's talk more near term. In your role with USA Hockey, serving as the representative for the blind discipline, what's the vision for the future? Like, what do the next 1 to 5 years look like? What are you guys trying to accomplish? Events, growth, all those good things. What's on the timeline for you?
Yeah, I mean, USA Hockey is doing a ton to promote blind hockey. Our classics post-COVID, I think all sports kind of took a hit. Ours seemed to be a little bit worse, but we've been slowly building up. Every year we do a classic, we get a few more people. So, this year we had, I want to say 75 players and coaches come to Boston, which was the largest since 2019. And so getting the community together more is definitely a large goal. I think that we're too many islands by ourselves and that we need to come together more. But it's also just general growth. We've got a lot of interest in Utah, Florida, Dallas, the LA area, Seattle. So we're finding all of these players, and it's finding the leaders to really pick up and carry on. Because as USA Hockey is, as the blind rep, like, I can help you get your team together, but I can't be there every week to run practice or to do things like that. And I think that in any disabled sport, that's kind of where you struggle is, getting a parent to run the team is great, but when that kid ages out, who picks up from there? So with that in mind, we're definitely changing how I don't want to say attack team building, but maybe try and be more selective of how we run these teams. Like, I think that vision teachers would be great advocates to run programs. We've got a gal in Philadelphia that runs their program that every year they gain 5 new kids because she's a teacher within a school. And that's where we need to be looking is how do we get the youth involved and maintain their interest in the sport, which is easier said than done. But as much as I love having old farts like me that come back to the sport and like getting them back on the ice, like I'm not going to do this for very much longer. So we need to start finding a way to get those kids in there to really boost them. And we've got some great ones. Like, we've got 2 16-year-olds that one of them is currently on the national team. One of them I'm pretty sure is going to be there, if not this year, then next year. But they play high-level high school hockey. They skate all the time, and then they come into blind hockey, and they just, like, they're monsters. They're like the Declan Farmers of blind hockey.
Drew, many people consider you one of the pioneers kind of this sport. You talked about how many young players are now coming into the sport from different states all over the U.S. What would your advice be for the next generation of blind hockey players?
Be open. Don't be afraid. It is scary. I think that's what we get a lot of the time is kids are afraid to try something new. And I think especially in this aspect, parents are kind of afraid to let their kids try something new. Like, would you want to put your 5-year-old blind kid on the ice with a bunch of other kids that are blind? Like, I can understand the hesitancy, but at the end of the day, the community that you get with hockey, and that's any hockey, disabled, standard, whatever, the community you get is the most important part of the sport. And especially in the blind community, I didn't know anyone blind until I joined blind hockey. Like, I was an island. And now I've got friends and people that I consider family. And I think that overcoming the fear to take that first step on the ice is huge. But if anyone can do that, like, you're going to find the best place in the world to be.
I love that. We're going to hit you with some rapid fire questions here before we let you go. These are intended to be pretty short, pretty fun. If you had to compare your current game to an NHL player, who would you say it's similar to?
Chris Chelios when he played for the Wolves.
Okay, I like that.
Wow. I don't know how I follow that one up. I think for me, I would say if you could pick like your absolute favorite hockey memory after joining blind, what would it be?
I mean, the easiest one is getting named to the national team. Like, that was something in standard hockey I never would have been on Team USA. Like, hands down, wouldn't have happened. I think that my favorite memory, though, is the very first event that I played in. I got to skate with the national team for an exhibition game, and we were playing against Darby Hendrickson and a bunch of Minnesota Wild alum. And we're going through, everything's fine. I'm feeling really good. And all of a sudden, we're cutting into the zone, and I steamroll someone. I mean, obliterate this guy in the slot. And I'm like, oh my God. And I look over and it's Darby Hendrickson on the ice in front of me. Like, he's going to beat me in front of all of these people. And the only thing I can think of saying to him is, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. And so he starts laughing and introduces me to other players. And I found out years later that they tell that story at every like family holiday still. So that was really cool to, for lack of a better term, make my mark on that. But yeah, that was really cool. A lot of fun.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Drew, we appreciate your time. This has been awesome. For people who want to check out your foundation, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
We're the Dented Puck, dentedpuck.com. We're the Dented Puck on Facebook, YouTube, all that fun stuff. And obviously through USA Hockey, they can always reach me.
Awesome. Thanks, and appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
Well, what an awesome conversation with Drew Garza, and just really cool to hear his story. And I think for me, it always comes back to just the importance of this game. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. That community is everything. And I know we talk about it nonstop all the time, but to hear what he was able to find personally as a player, getting back into it through blind hockey, but also being able to now give back to the game and try to continue to grow it for the next generation. That's really what this podcast is all about, Drew.
Yeah, it was awesome just kind of hearing his initial reaction when he thought he was done playing hockey forever. And then 5 years later to be able to rediscover the sport, the locker room, the community, and just the profound impact that kind of had on his life and still has on his life today was awesome.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest hope for me is just getting the awareness out there. Obviously, when we look at all the disciplines of USA Hockey, blind still has quite a ways to go. And so making sure that, people who are listening to this podcast, please go check out blind hockey, learn more about it. If you have friends or family who are visually impaired, encourage them to go check it out. Listen to the Dented Puck podcast hosted by Drew himself, and also check out his foundation, the Dented Puck Foundation. And we just really, really hope that more people take an interest in everything up and coming for blind hockey. It's an incredible adaptive discipline, and just really looking forward to seeing how it grows.
Yeah, that was so fun. And I mean, I personally enjoyed it so much because I learned a ton, and it's a huge month for USA Hockey at all levels. So we appreciate everyone listening, and be sure to check out our episode next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the USA Hockey Next Gen podcast. Be sure to subscribe, share, and follow us for more stories that inspire the future of the game. Until next time, keep skating forward and growing the game one stride at a time.